Welcome back to Inside the Trailer Sports Podcast, presented by myself and Connor over here. And today's episode is episode number 12 of the series. Again, we are not sponsored still by anybody. What is going on, man?
One day we'll get there. We're working towards it. We're getting there.
We have to, man. DraftKings and BetMGM, someone like that.
Hey, hit our line.
If you're watching,
hit our line. Hit our line.
Anyway,
I'm good to sell out anytime. So
yeah, me too. We're not in anything yet. So.
I'm ready to sell out.
Yeah.
So hit me with those sponsor deals, please. That'd be great.
Yeah. This week is, well, not this week, but next week is the Super Bowl. So it's only right to start off with a Super Bowl preview, covering matchups from last week, a lot of letdowns, and obviously what the Super Bowl will be. We'll give our player picks, MVP. We'll give predictions for who we think is going to win. And yeah, let's just get straight into it.
Yeah.
So obviously we got the Chiefs on their third in a row against the Philadelphia Eagles. This is a rematch from 2 years ago. How does this make you feel, first of all?
Disappointed.
Yeah.
As an NFL fan, it's annoying seeing the Chiefs obviously, going into the third Super Bowl. And it doesn't get much better now that we're playing. Now that they're playing the Eagles. Like it's the better of two evils. There's a lot of comparisons I've been hearing going around about, again, better to two evils and how both options are really bad. No one wants either team to win, but again, I think the better here is the Eagles. I mean, I think most of America does not want to see the Chiefs go back and three-peat it because, God, we're not going to hear the end of it. We are not going to hear the end of it. We already don't anyways, and. You know what I mean? Even if they lose, we're never going to hear the end about how great the Chiefs are and how great Pat Mahomes and Kelsey and Taylor Swift and all that stuff. I'm sick of it. I'm really pulling for the Eagles this weekend.
Yeah. No, I would agree with you.
Excuse me, 2 weekends from now.
Yeah, you're right.
Super Bowl, we'll say it.
Right.
I'm pulling for the Eagles in the
Super Bowl. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, to me, it's just like, what is the worst of two evils, like you said?
Right.
And it's the Eagles here. No one wants to see the Chiefs win again, and the people who do live in Kansas City.
Yeah.
But even Kansas City fans are recognizing that, like, maybe they shouldn't have got here. I saw a video that was like, someone like this girl explaining, like, okay, why did the Chiefs get all the calls? I'm a Kansas City fan, and even I can admit it. So there is some human ability in Kansas City.
Right.
They understand that some of the calls do go their way.
Right.
And I don't want to sit here and say that the reason they're here is because of calls.
It's definitely not just the reason.
No, it's not. It is a reason.
It's definitely a reason.
Something.
You bring up a good point, and like about how their own fans are maybe starting to like realize maybe we get a lot of calls. I see a lot of discourse online too about okay, maybe the Patriots dynasty actually wasn't so bad as like
I saw that
what I mean
too.
Like what, I kind of actually respected Brady. I kind of respect the rest of the team. Because they weren't actually annoying.
No.
And they weren't always getting, calls going their way. I saw people talking about Brady getting rough on the passing calls, but if you look at it and you average it out, I think Brady had about 60-something. I'd have to do some math again, but he had about 60-something total roughing the passer calls in his career. So when you average it out, it was about like 20. Or excuse me, I'm not 20. That's how many years he played in the league. It was about 3. It was like 3 a year, pretty much. So I don't like hearing the argument that Brady would get all the calls, but that's a different story. You clearly see with the Chiefs, they're getting a lot of the calls, and I think that's been helping them out a lot. I think it helped them a lot in this weekend specifically. I think that changed the tide of when the Bills went to convert that. The fourth and short, and it got turned over. Josh Allen jumping over the line just wasn't enough, apparently. I think, a lot of people could agree that he seemed like he was over the line.
Looked like it.
Line judges didn't think so. You know what I mean? They overturned that, and then, the Chiefs just ended up having the ball going out and scored. And now we're here. So I think, I think that was the biggest play of the game, I think. If that didn't happen and the Bills kept the ball, they could have gotten on the field and scored, and the game would have looked a lot different than it actually ended.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that play in specific should have definitely been, it should have been a first down.
Yeah, it should have been.
Like, there's a couple other plays, like, was it Worthy? I think Worthy caught the ball, but really, in my opinion, that looked like it touched the ground. And it didn't even look like he had control of it. I don't understand how that was a catch. But that's just two plays of, like, multiple that the Chiefs have, like, really got a change in momentum in the game that has propelled them to win.
Right.
In the past, it's been everything.
Right.
You know what I mean? Starting with the week number 1 against the Ravens. Given that wasn't a call, but it's like this is the black
Just
magic.
little things that just happen to go their way. You know what I mean? Like,
so yeah, and I understand it. Whatever. Either way, they are back in the Super Bowl again. Do they deserve to be there? Kind of a little bit, because this team is just so dominant. They're coached really well. They have Patrick Mahomes, so they still do deserve it, right? I'm going to give them credit.
Oh, absolutely. No, I think they absolutely still deserve it. I agree with you. Absolutely.
So, I mean, last week I feel like we played a lot on emotion, where we wanted the Commanders and the Bills to win.
Yeah.
And it just kind of feels like if oh, geez, something hit the trailer.
We're being attacked.
We're getting attacked. I don't want to just pick the Eagles just because. I don't know, just because we want to.
Right.
I'm gonna take the Chiefs in the Super Bowl matchup, and it hurts so bad to take that, but no one is stopping this team. The refs aren't stopping the team, and I just think this team is so lucky and also so dominant. If you have both of those factors, you're going to win the game. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. No, you make a really good point, and honestly, I can agree with that in a sense where it's just the Chiefs are so good, and again, they've been just getting so lucky this season, and why not happen again in the Super Bowl to get them the three-peat? I mean, we joke about the script, but I mean the script just makes sense, you know, for them to get the three-peat. The poster boy Patrick Mahomes, you know, getting his 3rd ring in a row, but. To be honest with you, I'm actually going to continue to play off my emotion a little bit, but also, you know, kind of with...
There's reason.
With reason as well, exactly. I'm going to take the Eagles this time.
Okay.
Again, I mean, I said the same thing about the Bills, but, you know, the Eagles are a powerhouse team on offense and on defense.
Yeah.
They've got incredible talent. Jalen Hurts, you know, has been really good. He did get hurt a couple weeks ago, but he's still been playing well. He's still, you know...
3 touchdowns the other day.
He had 3 touchdowns the other day. He can still move around in the pocket, too. You know, the tush push is obviously an unstoppable play.
Bro.
But even to go along with that, with an incredible line that's able to help perform that, is the season that Saquon Barkley's had. Saquon has been absolutely easily the best running back this season, and probably will win at least Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
You know, they've got great receivers, A.J. Brown. They've got Devonta Smith. Dallas Goedert's a really good tight end. So the offense is loaded. The defense is really good as well. Quinion Mitchell, who is one of the running for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Cooper DeJean's been really good. You know, you just go down the line. Darius Slay has been good this season. That's just their secondary. You know what I mean? You keep moving down as well, and they've got some really good stars on that defense. I could go on all day about, you know, the great players that they have, but again, I think this Eagles team is really good. So I'm gonna take the Eagles in this one. I think again, it's gonna be a tight game. I think the Eagles, you know, get their lick back from 2 years ago.
Hopefully.
I hope they do, and I think they will. I think this is the one where they get it done.
We've been saying that all playoffs.
We have. I think this is the one where the Eagles get it done and they take home another Super Bowl title. So I'm really praying for that. But again, I just kind of want to touch on something else to go back with is Saquon Barkley having such an incredible season, and I think that's going to be I think Saquon Barkley is going to be the biggest factor in this game if the Chiefs can stop that run game, because clearly Washington couldn't stop it. You know, the Rams couldn't stop it.
Is he your MVP pick?
I would absolutely agree with that. That's where I was going to transition into.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to talk about Super Bowl MVP. And because I think the Eagles are going to win, I think Saquon's going to continue to have another really good game. I think he's going to run all over them. I really don't see anyone in the league being able to stop and contain Saquon. I know I was reading a stat earlier. I don't believe the Chiefs have allowed a 100-yard rusher all season.
I was going to say that, yeah.
But Saquon's also hit 100 yards, I believe, in 14 out of his 17 games that he's played. No, he only played
19.
Oh, yeah.
If you're counting playoffs.
Yeah, if we're counting playoffs, 14 out of 19, still really good. But so, you know, so something's got to give, and I think this is the one where it gives in. I think Saquon's just he's gonna do his thing. I'm not gonna say he's gonna go. I mean, he's gonna go crazy for what we consider, but for him, it's an average game because he's just that good. Saquon's gonna have a good game, and he's gonna run over the Chiefs defense. And I think he's gonna be the key player of this game, and I think he's gonna be the one that brings home Super Bowl MVP.
That's a valid point. I'll tell you, and I want to come back to the Saquon thing in a minute, but I do want to give you my Super Bowl MVP pick. And because I'm taking the Chiefs, I've seen this story before. We've all seen this story before. Patrick Mahomes is going to win Super Bowl MVP, and that's just that. I think it's the most obvious choice.
Yeah.
And, that's given if they're going to win. I hope they don't. But, come on. It's the Chiefs, and they're not going to lose this game. They're not going to lose. So give me Patrick Mahomes for Super Bowl MVP, and it hurts me to say it, but that's where I'm going to stay. But I do like your pick of Saquon Barkley for sure.
I mean, again, you make a really good point. I mean, it's just the Chiefs. I mean, they're not good. They got the Eagles in the last matchup, so who's to say they're not going to do it again?
Yeah.
But obviously, I think I agree with you. If the Chiefs are going to win it, it's probably going to be Patrick Mahomes that ends up getting the MVP. Bearing anyone that goes off for any other reason. But again, I'm going to take the Eagles in this one. I believe Saquon's going to be the MVP of the Super Bowl. He's going to get the Super Bowl MVP, but I think there's another bigger argument to be made about Saquon and just his season in general.
Yeah.
In MVP terms, it's honestly he could have been the MVP of the entire season. He had that good of a season. He had an all-time season. You know what I mean? He's right up there with Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson in terms of MVP. And if you want to talk about just pure dominance, I think you can give that edge more to Saquon. I think Saquon is just like no one could stop him.
Saquon is not only the most talented running back right now in the whole entire league, he's also like he has all these good skill sets and crazy juke moves. We've seen the backwards hurdle.
That was absolutely incredible.
We've seen spin moves like no other. We just saw last week in the conference championship on his first run, him run
that 60-yard rush.
Oh my God,
that was insane.
He's pulling off all these amazing moves and all these amazing runs, and his stats are backing him up to be one of the best of all time.
Absolutely.
I am interested to know where you would place him, after such a great season like this. Where does he place in the all-time ranking list? Who, comparing to other GOATs in the running back realm, where does he stand?
That's tough because he's going to be up there.
Yeah.
He's absolutely going to be up there. He had that good of a season.
Yeah.
He had just about over 2,000 rushing yards. He led, if I pull it up right here, he led the league in carries. He led the league in yards. He's 8th in touchdowns. He just had such an absolutely incredible season. Just ran all over, and he still was kind of involved in the catching game too. So it's not like he was, only just a power back. He's elusive. He can catch the ball when need be. Again, maybe his receiving stats don't look as pretty and glorified as maybe a Christian McCaffrey's would, but that's because the Eagles themselves have a really good passing game as well. But just his rushing is absolutely incredible. They have a really good line that makes his job look a lot easier.
Oh yeah.
But he's absolutely incredible. And turnovers, I think he only had one lost fumble this season. For the amount of carries you had to only fumble that one time, he's incredible, man. And he's been really durable this season. Again, he's leading the league in attempts and rushing yards. He's been out there. You know what I mean? He's not sitting on the sidelines, only coming in just to make his stats look a little prettier and get the touchdowns. No, he's out there doing the dirty work, and he's having he's one of the best seasons of all time in terms of running back. In terms of where that would go, though, that's a
tough question.
That's a really tough question. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you have to say top 5 just at the top of your head.
It feels like a top 5 season, whether or not the stats, say it. And he's up there. He's definitely up there. Whether or not his stats might be top 5, it feels like he's top 5.
Right.
When in the past have you seen a running back this good and so talented just completely dominate and carry his team to where he is right now?
The last time I could think of is maybe Adrian Peterson. 13 years ago. That's if you again, that's another really good running back season of just one of the best of all time. And I think AP, he won the MVP that season. What's to say he couldn't, do that now? I mean, their stats were kind of similar in a sense. I mean, I think AP maybe had a little bit better in the stats wise, but just overall, Saquon, his team's in the Super Bowl now. He was able to lead that team to the Super Bowl, and it's mainly because of him. So you really got to put him up there in terms of if you break everything down, just more than just stats.
That's the whole argument too. Is that, and I know it's a regular season award, right? So we kind of got to pull back a little bit, but the Eagles are in the Super Bowl, and Josh Allen and Lamar are not in the Super Bowl.
Right.
Obviously, it's so hard to not take that into account, but come on.
You know
what I mean?
You're right. It is something hard to take into account, but it's
you have to.
You kind of almost have to in a sense because again, the MVP's kind of been like a quarterback award. You know, we talked
Yeah.
about Lamar, we talked about Josh Allen, but when you have just such an incredible rushing season like this, it's really hard not to be like, okay, this guy shouldn't be MVP or should be MVP. Like, he absolutely should be, and I think he, like, you know, if it wasn't a quarterback award, I think fair chances that Saquon Barkley wins the MVP this season.
Who's to say that Saquon can't be the person to change that trend?
He absolutely
could
could
be.
What I mean? He absolutely could be. I really hope, you know, that trend changes because I think Adrian Peterson actually was the last non-quarterback to win the MVP, if I'm, you know, thinking correctly.
Yeah.
But again, like, you're right, Saquon could be that guy to break that because he's just that great.
And I don't think he is going to win it because, I mean, genuinely, the Eagles are a good team. They have Jalen Hurts and they have good receivers. They have a great O-line, and that is something that you got to take into account too. But still, Saquon's been the most dominant running back, and I've seen in a while, and that's just a fact.
Right.
Right. So, again, it probably won't be Saquon, but it's really worth thinking in the back of your head, like, he should be up there with the other MVPs, and I know he is technically in the race, but his odds are dramatically higher than Lamar's and Josh Allen's, who I don't actually know who's going to get it, but that's besides the point.
That one I think is honestly becoming to a 50-50.
Like a draw, yeah.
I mean, we had that debate. I think right now, the front. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I think the front runner right now is Lamar.
Okay.
Betting wise, but again, like Saquon, I think deserves a really good shot too. He's not going to. It's going to be again. It's kind of already down to Lamar or Josh Allen, but I don't see why he couldn't be MVP this season. I think his stats absolutely go up against Lamar's and Josh Allen's.
Yeah.
In terms of value.
It's an interesting topic, though.
It is. No, it definitely is. But something that I thought of too, talking about just like, you know, going for the Lombardi Trophy that Saquon is Bill Belichick just brought up a good point.
Okay.
In terms of the Lombardi Trophy, potentially renaming it and calling it the Tom Brady Trophy. Which how do you feel about that?
I feel so mixed about it. Yeah, as a Tom Brady super fan and a Patriots super fan, would I love that? Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, of course.
Absolutely.
The Brady Trophy. Come on.
Absolutely.
We got to be serious though. I don't know how you feel, but can we actually be serious for a second? When is the last time someone like a trophy got renamed to someone just because they were better? The Stanley Cup would have been named the Gretzky Cup.
Right.
The literally name any other trophy, and it hasn't really been like that.
Right.
So we got to be a little bit serious here.
Right. I mean, you know, I think that, you know, it's a good debate. I mean, you know, Tom Brady has the most Super Bowls in MVP history.
Of course.
Excuse me, in Super Bowls in NFL history.
NFL history.
You know what I mean? He's been absolutely incredible. 7 rings is insane.
He's the GOAT. He's the GOAT.
He is absolutely the GOAT. And I understand the, you know, the reasoning for wanting to rename the trophy after him because after all, he has the most. He is he's Mr. Super Bowl. You know what I mean? He's that guy. But you're right. Like, it's just kind of like, do we really start naming other trophies just based on, you know, kind of like who's the best of all time? Because I mean, we could change it to, you know, like you said, the Gretzky Award for being the NHL, for the Stanley Cup winner. I don't know. I think the Lombardi Trophy has such a rich history to it, where I think that's the name that's just got to stay. Again, like we said, like, we love Tom Brady. Like, my favorite player growing up, still my favorite player of all time, will always be. But I mean, realistically, I think the Lombardi Trophy name has too much history to just change. You know what I mean? I think you can make the case maybe for other awards potentially down the line of maybe making it the Brady Award, but
if there's new awards or something like
that. Right. But for now, I think we keep the Lombardi Trophy name. I'm cool with that. I don't think there's any need to change it.
I think it logically makes a lot of sense, but history-wise and just like that's not what we do in sports, right?
Right.
The reason we give trophies and we give names and we remember people by, you know, such important things is because we want their name to last forever, because they were either the first or they were so historical at that time and so legendary during that time.
Right.
We don't rewrite history. That's not what we do.
Absolutely.
So logically it makes a lot of sense, but there's other things that, like, if you're going to change some things, you change logos, you change jerseys, fine. That's what we do. We don't change trophies, and that's the way I would like it to be for the rest of sports.
Right. I love the point you made about, like, the history. You know what I mean? You want to always remember the history. I love that point. You know, Vince Lombardi is such an important figure in NFL history in terms of, you know, where the league is right now and how it got to where it was. So, yeah, I agree with you. You know, the history is too rich where we can't change it. It's just got to stay. And I think just just like the sound of it too. Like it's like a weird like thing to bring up, but it's just like the sound of Lombardi Trophy versus Brady Trophy. And again, like I love Tom Brady, but I think Lombardi Trophy has that nice like it feels like it's important versus the Brady Trophy because it's Tom Brady. But
there's a difference.
There's a difference. But you know, I might also just kind of be like because I've heard the Lombardi Trophy so many times and it feels more important than the Brady Trophy. I guess what it probably would be. But yeah. Lombardi Trophy here to stay. It's not going to go anywhere. But yeah, I mean, go name another award after Brady. I'd love that.
Yeah, I would too. Go try Bill Belichick, but I respect. I respect the idea. But
it's a good idea.
Yeah.
It's a good idea. But I just don't think it's needed.
Yeah, it's not. In the NBA world, okay, so we got Jimmy Butler benching and the suspension. I'm curious to know how you feel. I'll give a little background context for anyone who's not up to par, but I think most NBA fans already know this has been an ongoing thing for a really long time. I don't really understand it. I understand benching him because he's been, not around the team for a while, but to me it sends more of a message to Jimmy that, like, we're not going to take your crap. But at the end of the day, the player can just do what he wants. Right. And he walked out of practice. He walked out of practice after being told that he was going to be benched. And now he's suspended by the team. Yep. What is your reactions to this?
He's such a diva, man. I like this. Just the saga. Like the saga is just. I don't know when it's gonna end. Yeah. He's a diva. Pat Riley is so set in his ways of how he wants to handle things and not giving in, which I don't necessarily blame him. No, but I can't also say I necessarily blame Butler for some of the ways that he's been feeling. But I think he just exaggerates it to a point where, we got to go in and definitely suspend him. So. I don't think Butler's going to be back the rest of the season at this point unless he gets moved. There's no reason. They don't want him there. He doesn't want to be there. But it's about finding the trade partner. And right now, like, there's just with the way he's been acting and his contract and his age, who wants to take that on?
I don't know, man.
Why would anyone want to take that on? It's terrible. He's just going to come to your franchise and do the same thing. He did it in Philly. He did it in Minnesota. He cried his way out of there and made it tough. Why would he not do it and he just did it now in Miami?
Well, you're thinking just like a general manager would right now.
Right. Which no team is just going to trade for because, the name or whatever. They're going to trade for every little factor that goes into the player and how it affects their organization. And I think, I've made this argument about Kyrie, but I think, Jimmy Butler is a real cancer in a locker room. Maybe he gets along with the players well. I haven't heard of him having any issues with any of his teammates, but when you have that kind of distraction in your team, regardless of how feelings are with friendly, it's still it's a distraction. It's a cancer. It negatively affects your locker room because now you have the guy who's supposed to be leading this team throwing pissy fits out there and saying he wants out and now he gets benched and he throws a pissy fit. And now he's done, indefinitely. So, I don't know. I don't know when the saga is going to end. It either ends with him getting traded or it goes all the way into the offseason.
It's weird, though, because, well, first I'll ask you, like, you're siding more with the Heat than you are Jimmy?
I think I am going to side a little more with the Heat than I am Jimmy. I think Jimmy's, in the past been able to show why he's not the most, what's the word I want to look for? Emotionally controlled player. It has its perks and its and its downfalls as well. Being able to like that, like Jimmy Butler cares a lot about winning basketball. Great, awesome. But when you go out there and you do things like what he's been doing, you can't be doing that. Especially when you're supposed to be a veteran guy who's able to lead a locker room, and you go out and you get mad because you got benched. Even besides the fact that you've had your issues with the team, you don't do that. It's super unprofessional. Yeah, and it's a big distraction. It's a big cancer. So I don't think the Miami front office is super innocent on this either. I don't think so at all. But again, it's kind of funny. I want to go back to just really briefly. We talked about the Chiefs and the Eagles. The better of two evils. Honestly, I think I think it's the better of two evils in this situation, and I think the front office is honestly kind of more in the right, even through their downfalls, probably through contract talk, but. I think this one goes a little more on Jimmy for just being super unprofessional and being a cancer to that locker room. So
yeah, and I feel like both sides kind of think they're doing the right thing, but to be honest, nobody's doing the right thing. The right thing here would be to just like the moment that he acted up, you should have just got rid of him right there. Right. And I understand most people don't want him because of all his antics and because of he's literally aging in his contract and everything. But the Miami Heat organization should have realized right away, once these antics were popping up, we got to get rid of him.
Right.
Because I feel like it was pretty obvious from the start. And when he still had trade value, you should have done something about it.
Absolutely.
And if you want to... But the other thing I don't even understand is, like, Jimmy came back and walked into the practice facility, and he's the one being told that he's being benched. You don't do that. Unfortunately, when you have a star player who is already a little bit frustrated, you don't bench him. And I understand, like, you can't let the player, what's the word? Choose the path of what the organization is going to do.
Right.
Something like that. You can't let the player do that and decide what's going to go on. But also, he's your star player. He's your franchise player and has been for a bit. You start him, and you don't start Haywood Highsmith. You don't do that.
Right.
So both are pretty guilty. Both parties are guilty. You should have traded him already.
Yeah, absolutely. His trade value just tanked so much.
It's tanked a lot.
And it continues to tank, the more that we wait into the saga. Because now that, less teams are trying to make calls and, it's less, like, we got good value, like, someone give us an offer. It's like, okay, like, someone please give us an offer.
Please take him.
Your value continues to go down because no one wants him. And now you have to trade him for less. It's terrible. I mean, again, both sides kind of screwed the other side over a lot, and it's just an ugly situation.
Yeah, I mean, clearly the Heat don't want to win games or something like that. If you're going to start Haywood, and you just kind of screwed. You screwed Jimmy. You screwed yourselves. Everyone is screwed. Everyone in Miami is screwed.
To be honest, I think you're right. Everyone in Miami is screwed, and you're going to continue to screw your organization because now, again, it affects the perception of the team as well in the front office.
Yeah.
You might have free agents who are debating about who to coach in the offseason, and Miami might put in an offer, but why would they want to go there? Pat Riley's not good.
No,
Pat Riley's
not.
Pat Riley is so set in his ways, and he won't listen. Yeah, exactly. You right. Good word. Ego. He's egotistical. He has a huge ego. He's set in his ways. Why would you want to work with an owner like that? Why would you want to work with a front office like that who's not going to want to listen to you and is going to try to control you and you have no say? Yeah. Why would you want to do that as a free agent, even with more money? You don't. So I don't know. It's an ugly situation for both sides.
Gotta trade him. Gotta trade him ASAP. I'm really curious if he's going to get traded anytime soon. I guess we'll have to see. The trade deadline is next week. But yeah, I have no idea what's going to go down in Miami.
Speaking of the trade deadline, that's coming up February 6th. Some name that's been brought up a lot recently has been DeAaron Fox. I mean, we just talked the other week about the Kings and their struggles and, them trying to kind of move things around. But now I think they're open to talks about trading DeAaron Fox. So, he's 27. He's got 1 year left on his contract and before he hits free agency in 2026. So I think now, if the Kings are looking forward and trying to maybe rebuild or go in a different direction, I think now is the perfect time to trade Fox before you go into that contract year and it's hard to move him then. So I don't know exactly where Fox could end up. I think a name that got brought up maybe was the Spurs. I think that could be a really fun pairing with him and Wemby. That could be really cool.
That'd be electric.
It would be
really good.
It would be really cool. I think another name, we got brought up with Jimmy Butler was the Warriors. I think that could be another option potentially for De'Aaron Fox. I don't know how well the fit is there because, you've got Curry who needs to hold the ball. Kind of the same thing with Fox, but, we've kind of seen it work with other guys like D'Lo was there. And, honestly, D'Lo wasn't playing terrible when he was with the Warriors.
No, yeah, he wasn't.
I think just using him as an example, like it could work out. Who knows if that's actually going to happen, but De'Aaron Fox is an incredible talent. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him get traded for a lot of value. It's just about who's going to do it, who's going to make that move. I guess going back to the Spurs, like they've got Chris Paul, but Chris Paul's also kind of getting up there in age as well. He's not the same player that he was. So maybe you bring in Fox and you let him learn under Paul a little bit, kind of play alongside each other. But I don't know. I think it's going to be fun and interesting to see kind of how the Kings move on with De'Aaron Fox. If he actually does get traded, and if he does, where does he go? Does he go to a contender? Does he go to another kind of rebuilding team who thinks they can kind of get over the slump with him? I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah, he's definitely like a super interesting trade piece, and probably, I mean, if you don't count Jimmy Butler because of his whole situation, he is now probably one of the biggest pieces that will probably get traded at the deadline. I know a lot of teams would probably love to have him. The teams you named make a lot of sense, though. I would personally love to see him as a Spur. I feel like that's a great landing spot to him, and I think that is the number one priority right now. I think that is his top landing spot. I think it makes a lot of sense with Wemby, and I would love to see it. It's something that I'm looking forward to seeing. I'm not really sure. I'm not sure it's going to go down. He's not doing anything with the organization like Jimmy is, so that's a plus.
That's a plus. De'Aaron Fox doesn't get into antics. He doesn't get into politics like that. De'Aaron Fox is, a really good. De'Aaron Fox is a really good dude.
Yeah.
So
we'll have to see.
I don't know.
The Kings will survive without him. They have young players. They have Malik Monk. They have Keegan Murray, and they have Sabonis. Like, they have good players that will fill the roles that will be,
right.
That'll fill in for if he's gone. And I think Fox is going to get you some trade value back, so I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
I don't really necessarily understand why they're trading him. I don't know if you know either.
I don't know necessarily why him specifically.
Yeah.
I mean, again, like, he's still kind of young. You get a lot of value out of him. Maybe the Kings are kind of realizing, where they fired Mike Brown, like, we need a change in the organization. It hasn't been where we want it to be. De'Aaron Fox, although he's been, good, he's really still developing. He's just not getting us over the hump of, moving on and, making a better playoff run. Maybe they just kind of want to flip the switch and just kind of start again. I wonder if that means Sabonis goes. They just signed DeMar DeRozan this offseason, so who knows how that one's going to go, where he hasn't been playing as hot as, he has in year past, and he's getting, up there in age as well. But like you said, they've kind of got some other young players, like Keegan Murray, has been absolutely incredible as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Kings do at the deadline. But I don't know. Fox, they just wanted to reset.
Yeah, and I also just feel like it says one of the sources said that he wasn't willing to commit long term. So I understand it in that way.
Right.
Of if he has one more year on his contract, let's get some trade value, because clearly nothing's going to change with him on the team.
Right.
So let's get some kind of value out of him and trade him at the deadline.
Right.
I get it.
And it seems like they have a good relationship with Fox too, him in the front office. I mean, they came and talked to him about, hiring Mike Brown.
Yeah.
So they wanted his value and based, how the organization runs. I think honestly, both sides kind of would be doing each other a justice by, maybe moving on and getting him a trade partner.
Yeah.
You bring up the point where he's only got 1 year left on that contract, and to be honest with you, he'd probably just be sitting there another year and then go into the offseason and leave Sacramento.
Probably.
For both sides, you might as well speed up the process. Let De'Aaron go. Let him go, chase maybe a ring or a better team.
We'll see.
We'll see how that goes. But, yeah, and then the Kings can just get some capital off of that.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I don't know. I hope for both sides that maybe there is a change here. And that could you could make the league a little more interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
But something else in the NBA world to mention is Jalen Johnson, unfortunately, is out for the season. Jalen has been absolutely incredible this year. He's been stepping up for the Hawks. He just went out. He just got announced earlier today that he's going to need a season-ending surgery to repair a torn labrum in his left shoulder. Yeah, that's a harsh injury.
It's tough. Yeah, it's very tough.
He should be able to make a full recovery by the beginning of next season. But obviously, it's tough for the Hawks. It's a real big loss. They're still kind of hoping to make a playoff run potentially and make them there. I think right now they're just sitting a little under 500.
Okay.
But they were getting there. They have young pieces. We talked about Dyson Daniels early in one of our episodes where he's been absolutely incredible
on the defensive end.
Trae Young, has been really good. Capella, Jalen Johnson was good, but now he's gone. So that's another really big blow. He was having career highs and about almost everything: points, assists, rebounds. Recently he was suffering through a right shoulder injury. Unfortunately enough. Yeah, I know. He missed 6 games. It was a inflammation in the right shoulder, and then I believe on January 23rd he got the left shoulder injury when they were playing the Raptors. His layup attempt got blocked by Scotty Barnes, and just kind of got hit a little hard. Ended up tearing his labrum. So I don't know, big loss for him, but hopefully he can come back and continue the development and growth going into next season, and maybe the Hawks get a little better. Maybe they add another star. And
you think they're gonna pursue anybody at the deadline?
The Hawks, no. I think if anything, the Hawks it's tough. I think maybe with the blow of Jalen Johnson, they're kind of like, all right, maybe this isn't the year. We're a little above 500. We're a little below 500.
They're a little below.
Below. I mean, you still have Trae Young, so Trae Young can go off. Maybe you kind of hope for a play-in spot, but to be honest, I don't see them being buyers necessarily at the trade deadline. If anything, I think they'd be sellers, but I don't know if they'll go that route.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough for the Hawks.
It's tough for the Hawks. I think regardless of whatever they do, buy or sell or stay the same, it's like they're going to be fighting for a play-in spot no matter what.
This is one of those moments where like a team is kind of in a limbo and kind of like what the hell do we do, because they're not bad enough to tank, they're not good enough to win.
Right.
And this move just makes it even worse, and it kind of solidifies it, because if you're the Hawks, you don't want to sell. You have Dyson Daniels, who we were saying is playing amazingly on defense, and then you have Trae Young. You don't get rid of Trae Young. Trae Young is probably your franchise point guard, and he wants to be there.
Complete rebuild right there if you get rid of Trae Young.
That's what I'm saying. And so, like, what other pieces are you going to get rid of? You could get rid of Capella, I guess, but you kind of need Capella now that Johnson is kind of injured.
Right.
He's your other big guy. So I guess from the Hawks, you just kind of ride it out. You say, that sucks, and this year's going to – you try to get into the play-in spot. Maybe you go on a miracle mystery run in the playoffs, and maybe you pull off something miraculous, which would go down as the best story ever.
Right.
But we all know that's not going to happen.
It's just not going to happen, unfortunately.
So I don't know. I don't really see them buying or selling at the deadline. I agree with you. It's just a very unfortunate situation for the Hawks.
Right. It's a big blow.
Yeah. I wish the best for Jalen Johnson. I'm sure he'll come back next season and he'll be even stronger, better than before. But it just sucks. Maybe the Hawks just try to get some off-season pieces.
Right. I agree with you. I think that's kind of where they look more to into the off-season. Maybe still competing for a play-on spot, but I don't know. For now, it's unfortunate. Hopefully, prayers up to him and, full recovery. And he'll be right back on the court being, great next season. But I want to transition to our last segment of the episode. So I picked out a clutch play of the week. So this is Connor's clutch play of the week. This is maybe just a little new segment I wanted to try out where I just I found this clip. I think it went viral on social media, and you might have seen it already. You guys might have seen it, but I want to highlight. I want to highlight this because this was awesome. Again, this was the clutch play of the year, of the week. Excuse me. Could be the year. But we'll come back down to that later at a time. But of the week at least. I'm not a huge college basketball person necessarily. I pay attention to it a little bit, for guys that are coming up in the league. But something I want to highlight is Arizona versus Iowa State last week. Arizona unranked versus the 3 ranked Iowa State. We're about 2.2 seconds left in the game. They got to go full court here. Arizona does. I want to play this clip real quick.
We're playing it right now.
Yeah. So Arizona, they got to go full court. 2.2 seconds left in the game. They pass the ball into Caleb Love. He dribbles it up, takes about 3 or 4 dribbles, hawks it up a little over half court, and drains it. Absolutely clutch. They end up tying the game just a little over half court, throwing up that heaver over him, the defender, and draining it right in his face. They end up going on to win this game in overtime.
You dream of this.
Absolutely, you do. As growing up playing basketball, and you dream for these big moments where you can hit big shots and to help your team win. They ended up tying it right here again, right at the buzzer, but they ended up going on to win it in OT. And Caleb Love was the clutch player of the week and the clutch play of the week. Absolutely, that was an incredible play.
I mean, without that play, they don't win the game. So I mean, that tells you everything that you need to know. That's insane.
It was
it's kind of one of those moments where it kind of leaves you speechless. Like, how the hell did he do that?
How did he hit that right over the defender too? It was good defense. He was still right there, but Caleb Love just hits that right over him. So that's my clutch play of the week right there. So shout out Caleb Love for that one. That was awesome.
I agree, man. So that'll do it for today's episode. This was a little bit of a shorter one. We hope you enjoyed episode number 12. We're doing these weekly podcast episodes, so if this is the first time that you're seeing one of these episodes, please come back for more. We do them every single week, and we have new content for you guys, new games on social media. So if you're not following socials as well, All that will be linked in the description if you want to follow and see more behind the scenes content, as well as more games that we play and bets and other stuff that we do on social media. So stay tuned for more of that, and we will see you back for episode number 13 next week, right before the Super Bowl. So we will see you all then.
See you then.